Mr. Caputo, go ahead. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to pick up where the Liberals have seemingly taken a study on misinformation and trying to spread more misinformation.
What else is new with that?
Mr. Fernandez, could you please take a minute to expand on the nature and role of X's legal funding program?
As I've shared before, the goal of the program is to support individuals whose employers have impacted their employment as a result of things that they've said on the service.
So to be clear, is the support that's provided in this case to the person, Dr. Strauss, it's related solely to employment and not political candidacy?
That's correct.
And in this specific case, is it related solely to his forced resignation from Queen's University?
I don't have all the details of that particular case in front of me, but I'd be happy to follow up with more.
Thank you. You were just talking about community notes, so it seems timely, and I'm just going to reference a few community notes. This one here from the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, dated October 13th. Last year, Cenovus raked in $37 billion in profits and a whopping $64 billion in 2022. There is a community note on that with a link to Yahoo Finance News. August 17th, Justin Trudeau told Canadians things would be better. Instead, they've gotten worse. Families are losing their homes, and it goes on. Community note. Justin Trudeau is in government because of a confidence and supply agreement with Jagmeet Singh. And the community note goes on. Again, August 17th, Jagmeet Singh. Justin Trudeau builds people's hopes up only to let them down. And then he goes on to talk about rent prices. And there's a community note on that. March 18th, breaking. The vote is in. We have forced the Liberals to stop selling arms to the Israeli government, support the ICC and the ICJ, place sanctions on extremist settlers, and much more. Committee note, a motion in the House in question does not force the Liberals to do anything. It goes on. March 7th, another community note. February 27th, this is another one. This is actually a very interesting one. 80% of the grocery market is controlled by 5 corporations. And then he goes on and says both Liberal and Conservative parties receive campaign donations from the 3, Sobeys, Metro, and you guessed it, Loblaws. Metro is really interesting that it's added there, given that his brother lobbies for them. The claim in the Post is false. Corporate donations to federal political parties have been forbidden by law in Canada for over 15 years. It's kind of like when the Liberals say assault-style weapons, which have been illegal for 40 years, and they know it. Another one on conflicts of interest. So what do we have? 8 community notes. Have you ever seen a political leader in Canada who's been community noted this many times?
I'm not sure, but all the data related to community notes is publicly available and publicly accessible. It's uploaded every single day, going back to the inception of the program, which allows researchers around the world to study the system.
Not to be outdone, the Deputy Prime Minister, I'm looking at August 23, 2021. Great day, my anniversary. A video tweet, this is from CBC no less, a video tweeted by incumbent Liberal candidate Chrystia Freeland, Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister now, who served as Deputy Prime Minister in Justin Trudeau's government, was given a label Sunday from Twitter which marked it as manipulated media. Have you ever seen anybody this high in government community noted, Mr. Fernandez?
Yes, just I'm aware that there are, the @POTUS account in the United States has received community notes before.
Oh, interesting. So this would be on par with things that Donald Trump has stated? Or Joe Biden, sorry? Is that where you're going?
The @POTUS account has received community notes before, yes.
Interesting.
So I have a question that I'd like to put to each member of the panel, and it has to deal with the responsibility that verified users on your platforms have when it comes to the dissemination of disinformation and their responsibility. Mr. Fernandez, you talked about the great checkmark and the trust that users of your service can have when they recognize that gray check mark means that person is an elected official or a government official. And I want to read to you a post on X from 2023, 10/7. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister posts, "Bombing a hospital is an unthinkable act, and there is no doubt that doing so is absolutely illegal." That post was viewed 2.7 million times. It's still live on your site today. Now, I want to juxtapose that with an ABC News story from 18 October 2023. I'm just going to read you the first paragraph. A day after Hamas-led Gaza Health Ministry claimed Israel had attacked the Al-Ali Arab Hospital in Gaza City, saying some 500 Palestinians had been killed, Israeli and U.S. officials, explosive experts, and President Joe Biden said Wednesday, and available evidence shows the destruction was caused instead by failed Palestinian terrorist rocket launch. End quote. How difficult is it for your users, but also your services, to manage this when we have this type of recklessness from not just an elected official, but from the foreign minister from a G7 country who's spreading what is demonstrably and evidenced fake news, false information, call it what you will. It's we talk about misinformation. The chair has pointed out before. That's a clever term for when people lie. What kind of challenges does this create with this type of actor posting this type of misinformation?
Sure. Times of conflict and disasters, people come to X to find out what's happening. And often, it can be challenging to understand what's happening in a conflict zone, such as the Israel-Hamas war. And this is where community notes can be really powerful and sometimes act faster than traditional fact-checking. But because so many people come to the service and there are a lot of different sources of authoritative information and important information, this is where folks can make better sense and get a more accurate picture of what's happening on the ground.
Yeah, and I'll note, and I regret that I don't have time for the other platforms to engage on this question. I think I have 45 seconds left, Chair. But I note that there are community notes that have been suggested, but an agreed upon note has not been yet posted. But I do think that that in this case that feature is important because there's definitely added context, including the truth that should have been offered by that verified user, Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs, when posting and not taking down something that's demonstrably false. So, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Caputo for 5, and then Ms. Khalid for 5, and that'll be it. Go ahead, Mr. Caputo.
Thank you. I'm just going to pick up Mr. Deere, I hope I pronounced that correctly, on what my colleague Mr. Green was stating. Now, my recollection, this some time ago, was that government accounts were no longer able to use TikTok. Is that accurate?
Currently, there is an order from the Treasury Board that says you can't use TikTok on a government-issued mobile device.
Right. Okay. Now, did you have any interactions with the federal government after that occurred?
We continue to engage with the government on policy issues, and we did reach out and have some conversations with the Treasury Board following that decision.
Okay. Do you recall, from your perspective, what was the rationale for the government taking that action?
Pointing to generalized concerns that they pointed towards with data security. We provided them with information about how we operate, and our public position at the time that we stated was it doesn't make Canadians safer to just go after one platform. That if the Treasury Board or the government wants to set rules for what types of apps should be on government employees' devices, they should set a bar, and that should apply equally to all apps, not just to one app.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, do you feel as though TikTok has been singled out as in your data security would be on par with perhaps the other organizations that we have here at committee today?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Now, we've talked, this is about misinformation, disinformation, and we've talked a lot about community notes. And perhaps Ms. Hunley or Ms. Curran can help me out. I don't recall this. What is the equivalent of the Facebook community note?
So we have the largest global fact-checking network of any of the online platforms, and we work with over 90 different organizations around the world to fact-check content.
Okay. And so let's say you fact check something and it is false. Then what?
So we have a range of treatments we can apply to it. We can apply a screen that says this content is false or partly false, and it will link to an external organization's website explaining what the fact-checking organization has found. We can also downrank or demote that content so that it is less visible to our users. For content that is particularly problematic, we can remove it altogether. So there's a range of different treatments.
And who decides what treatments a given post gets?
Yeah, our content review teams make the call on how content should be treated.
I see. Okay, and I mean the reason I'm asking this is because Mr. Dyer, in his opening, he talked about the prohibited information. It's a standard of some sort. I just have a kind of cryptic note here that I wrote to myself. Prohibited information that would cause significant harm. Do you recall that, Mr. Dyer?
Yep.
Yeah. So what's the threshold for significant harm?
My colleague Justin could describe that for you, please.
Hey, thanks for the question. So we consider a wide variety of harms that we remove, including election misinformation, such as undermining civic integrity, medical misinformation that may lead to significant physical harm or death, or things that may cause public panic or large-scale property damage, as a few examples.
Now, during an election, which, you know, we're all parliamentarians here, we all use social media, but I think a lot of us, you know, like, really don't enjoy the process because there's so much misinformation and frankly, a lot of really mean-spirited comments. But during an election campaign, which often is about 35, 36 days in Canada, well, we'll just go back to you, Mr. Elric. Is there a heightened awareness on TikTok's behalf with respect to these significant harms, or is it just kind of business as usual because there's just so much content to deal with?
Well, in the midst of elections, we take our responsibility to protect the integrity of the platform incredibly seriously and have a task force that are spun up to prepare and enforce all of our policies here. So we certainly do scenario planning and assess various different types of things that may happen and have dedicated teams looking to moderate and enforce content around election misinformation or hate or harassment, and partner as well closely with fact checkers who we leverage to assess the veracity of any of the claims that may come in.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Caputo.